Good evening, my friends. Sorry I've been so sporadic. I'm trying to get back to being consistent about this, but I want to share. This is really good actually. Genesis 12, and what the Lord's been showing me about Abraham. Starting in verse 7, it says, "And the Lord appeared unto Abraham and said, Unto your seed will I give this land. And there Abraham built an altar unto the Lord, who had appeared unto him. And he went from there unto a mountain on the east of Beth-el, and pitched his tent, having Beth-el on the west, and Hai, I wonder if that's Ai, on the east. And there he built an altar unto the Lord, and called upon the name of the Lord. And Abraham journeyed, going on still toward the south. And there was a famine in the land, and Abraham went down into Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was grievous in the land." And it never occurred to me that, at the beginning of this, Abraham had told, or God had told Abraham, get out of your father's house, go to the land that I'll show you. And he goes out and he gets to Canaan. And then the Lord appears to him and he's like, hey, this is the land that I'm going to give you. And, and Abraham built an altar there. He's happy about it. He calls upon the name of the Lord. And then right after God tells him, hey, this is you, okay, you did good. You left your father's house. You came to this land that I told you to come to. This land is the land that I'm going to give you. Abraham is stoked. Okay, this is my land. Builds an altar, calls upon the name of the Lord. And then right after that, there's a famine in the land. And the famine was so severe that he had to go to Egypt. Okay? Do you hear what I'm saying? God says this is the promised land. You left your father's house to come to this promised land, and you came to it, and now there's a famine in the land. And I just think there's a spiritual principle here because there's so many times that we get so excited about God when we have faith in what He's told us and what He's promised us. But then we come into a dry season and we're like, wait a minute, what about the promise? You know what I mean? Like, you just told me this was what you had promised me. And now I'm experiencing all this hardship and this dry weather. I need rain. You know what I mean? I need moisture. The drought is great, you know? And and I just think it's awesome to see how that God shows us this, that even though He might bring us somewhere, we may experience difficulty as soon as we get there. As soon as we get there, we might have to leave again and go camp out somewhere else. But was it the Lord's will for him to leave? Yes, I don't know. I mean, he couldn't live in the famine, but he went to Egypt, and uh, and that didn't turn out too good because, I mean, he gives Pharaoh his wife because he's scared that he's gonna get killed because of her because she's so beautiful. And then Pharaoh takes her to wife. He's sleeping with her. You know what I mean? Yeah, he had to have been because Abraham had to leave because Pharaoh got angry because he was afflicted and his household was afflicted. And Abraham got super rich because of Pharaoh taking his wife. So she definitely had marital relations with him. Because you can see the next time the same thing happens, the person doesn't have marital relations with him, and they're spared from getting plagued. But Pharaoh wasn't spared from being plagued. But anyway, so we just see that, man. It's just, how does God work? It's crazy to see that He calls him out of his father's house. Abraham obeys. He brings him into the promised land, tells him, hey, this is the land I'm going to give you, and then brings a famine that's so severe that Abraham has to leave the famine land, the promised land, and then he ends up going to Egypt, and his wife is defiled by Pharaoh. And I wonder what we should take away from this. I think there's so much more. Maybe you guys can open my mind, but I feel like there's so much more to this. But I'm going to keep processing and chewing on it. And just food for thought. Amen.